But as we've long said, Peter Franchot is an honest broker. Again, the kind of elected official we want, especially here in Maryland. Peter Franchot writes on Saturday morning, I'm old enough to remember when George Wallace literally stood in that doorway at the University of Alabama to prevent black students from enrolling and receiving a college education. So is my friend and longtime colleague Paul Pinsky. He knows better than this. There's just no excuse for attacking Governor Hogan in such a personal way by connecting his support for a post-Labor Day school start to the hurtful memories of school segregation in the Deep South. It's deeply insulting to him and offensive to anyone who experienced the effects of institutional bigotry during that dark chapter in our country's history. Hoping that Paul will apologize publicly, stay focused on the merits of his position, and keep it civil as we move forward. It is unhelpful, Senator Pinsky, for you to do this. It makes it more difficult for us to have a meaningful conversation. Now, talking about this meaningful conversation and why we need to have this conversation about a late school start is the Senate Minority Whip, Steve Hershey, when I lived on the shore, my own state senator out in the 36th district. State Senator Hershey, listen, I mean, am I right? This makes it very difficult to have a meaningful conversation between the parties.
Andrew, you're absolutely right. And good afternoon.
Hey.
Yeah, these comments came out of nowhere, to be honest. I mean, we were on our second day of debate over the legislation that Senator Pinsky had introduced that was going to basically undo Governor Hogan's executive order about mandating school boards to do their calendars starting after Labor Day. We're on the second day. I actually had a bill, believe it or not, that one of the holidays not listed as a holidays that the school boards must observe was Labor Day. And so I put a bill in that says, at least we have to observe Labor Day, and we'd held that over till Friday. We thought that we would be able to at least hear the Democrats bring some common sense to this argument and accept our amendment. But all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Senator Pinsky just went on a tirade about everything that had happened the day before. And interestingly enough, I had got up on the floor when he was doing this, and I interrupted him, and I said to the Senate President, we're supposed to be talking on the amendment. I mean, this is a simple amendment. It's either Labor Day or it's not Labor Day. And Senate President said, let him keep going. And then he went into this comments about the schoolhouse steps. And, there were a number of people that were just shocked that those specific words were used. Senator Casserly got up and said, that this was appalling and that he needs to apologize to the governor. And it's the Senate floor. It's just no place for those types of comments.
Well, especially given the fact that there are segments of, there are places in Maryland where there were deeply divided racial communities for many. Still today in certain ways there are. But when you have places like the Eastern Shore that struggle with a legacy here, this sets back the ability of people to sort of work together. How? And it's interesting. Not that I want you, Senator Hershey, to comment on the wall. But this is akin in many ways to Democrats laying down and saying the wall is immoral, right? Once you sort of lay down that marker, once you say the post-Labor Day start is racist, it is very difficult to walk back and find some area of compromise. You can't compromise morality. You can't compromise on racism, right?
Well, exactly right, Andrew. And that seems to be the place that the Democrats are trying to put many Republicans as we try to argue the merits of either this legislation or policy issues. And we bring up a lot of good ideas on why we should be able to do something. President Trump on why the wall is needed. Governor Hogan on why we should be starting schools after Labor Day. We've got great ideas and things that should be listened to. And when they don't like them, they just all of a sudden, as you go, they go to the morality of it, or all of a sudden somebody's a bigot because they've said the right thing and they don't agree with it. And that's just not the way that we should be handling our debate. And people are getting tired of that, whether it's on the federal level or now, we're seeing things on the state level between here and Virginia, things that are going on. People just don't want to see this. They want to see good ideas. They want to see both parties work together to come up with the best policy that can help both sides. And we just seem to be getting into a situation of name calling and putting titles on people or the isms as we talk about.
Yeah.
It's just not what we're down here in Annapolis to do, and it's just not necessary.
My guest is State Senator Steve Hershey. He's the Senate Minority Whip. And let me ask you this, because this gets into this other more general question. I mean, we're a couple of weeks, almost a month now into session here, if I'm doing my math right, and I don't claim to ever do math right. But we have a Democratic caucus in Annapolis that has lurched not just left, but very left. I mean, are you seeing that as perhaps maybe emboldening somebody like Paul Pinsky to make inflammatory remarks like this, because there's really no consequence, because there is no center Democrat, or very little in the way of a center Democratic Party anymore?
Well, let me just, I certainly respect Paul, and I respect all of my colleagues down there. But Andrew, I think you've kind of hit on something. And, believe me, there are some legislators that are in Annapolis that would just wish that the Republican Party would go away, that we wouldn't stand up on the floor, that we wouldn't ask questions, that we wouldn't challenge them to justify the legislation that they're bringing forward. They just want to go and take the vote and be done with this kind of stuff. And I think that's what we're seeing. Yeah, that's where they're emboldened. That's where they believe that, hey, they've got the numbers, that the House of Delegates gained 8 seats. We picked up 1. We were trying to get 5. I think that they think that both chambers have moved further to the left, and there's no need to hear any Republican ideas anymore. And that's what becomes most offensive about the legislation and the amendments that we were putting up. And that's why it got so heated, because the Democrats were told, we want a clean bill. And you're going to start to hear that phrase more and more often, Andrew. They're talking about clean 15, which means that they want the minimum wage of $15. Clean bill, no amendments, no changes from it. That's where they're starting to go. They want clean bills.
I hate to say it. I got to let you go. Listen, we wish you all the best. We're going to have you back. State Senator Steve Hershey, he's the Senate Minority Whip.